When I was young, rhubarb was considered a kind of common vegetable. Thought it was a fruit, and we used to get it, and if it snapped, you didn't cut it, you just snapped it, and you got a bit of paper, and it was like a cone shape, and you put sugar in it, and you wet your you liked the rhubarb you liked the rhubarb, and you put it in the sugar and you ate it, and it was beautiful. It was like a bag of sweets to us when we were young.
I'm one of the lucky people that goes to the festival club and gets this healthy quality food and nice environment and very helpful staff. I like to see a wee bit of rhubarb now. Rhubarb was, when I was younger, we used to get a lot of freedom in those days that I think maybe younger people quite, I can understand why don't get the freedom, but we used to go away up long walks with our friends away out in the countryside, and there it was, cheap rhubarb, free rhubarb, and quite hungry nowadays, and it was really good to get some rhubarb, and really enjoyed biting into the rhubarb and filled up a hungry belly.
It used to be a fantastic event, I think, for when you was younger, because we were kind of poor and we never had very much that way, but when we used to get our rhubarb stalks, it was a lot of fun because we knew we were getting that bitter taste there, and then when you dipped it in your cone of sugar, you were getting the sweetness that counteracted with the sugar, and it was so delicious. And that would be my day and my friends' day. We'd be away, walks, getting rhubarb, the process of coming back and getting the sugar, and then later on your mum would make like a rhubarb crumble, or we'd get hot custard with hot rhubarb, and it was such a great day. Best day was a Sunday because you were in after your meal and you got your dessert was rhubarb and custard or hot rice, and the experiences I had when I was a kid for that was fantastic.
Okay, so I grew up in the north of England, and I grew up in the country, and my parents decided they were going to build a house and we were going to have an idyllic garden, and we didn't have a lot of money, but we had a lot of friends who gave us a lot of things, including lots and lots and lots of rhubarb. So we had rhubarb growing all over the garden. At one point we had it in the rockery, which turned out to be a bit of a mistake. And then when all the rhubarb came into season, my mother thought, what are we going to do with all of this wonderful, wonderful rhubarb, which my father wouldn't eat because it wasn't sweet, and we children wouldn't eat because it wasn't sweet. So she made it into rhubarb jam, and it was the most delicious, delicious, sweet thing ever, just this rhubarb paste. And that was it. I just loved rhubarb ever since then. I think you do need to give it a lot of space, I think, and you need to let it settle. And I believe the first year that you put the rhubarb in, you shouldn't cut any of it. You should just leave it. And then the second year, I think they say you can cut about a quarter of it or something like that. I'm making this up, but it's something like that. Mm-hmm. But we've had ours in for 4 years now, and I'm cutting it early and cutting it often and hoping that it will just keep growing.
The way we used to eat it, or the best way, was just getting sticks of rhubarb and a bowl of sugar, and we'd just sit and dip the rhubarb in the sugar, and it just sounds ridiculously unhealthy now. But that's what we did, and we just ate it that way, like raw, because it was so, I suppose, sour, but the sugar obviously made it sweet. And other things like rhubarb jam and all these kind of things just give you kind of nice memories of your childhood. This is some of my rhubarb here. I've got three chunks of rhubarb, but it all was originally from my mum and dad's garden in Carnoustie. And so I tried it along near my flat, my back garden, and along the road behind our flat, but it didn't really take very well. So anyway, I brought it here, and it seems to be a lot happier at the community garden. So hopefully I'll get lots of rhubarb. But yeah, I quite like putting rhubarb in my porridge. So it's quite good if you've only got a small amount. If you've only got a wee drop, you can just chuck it in your porridge, and it's a nice thing to have.
It's very versatile. You can eat it raw with sugar, or you can put it in a pie.
You can.
Or you can put it in crumble. So I remember picking it in my mum's garden and dipping it in sugar.
Well,
and
again,
it was lovely, lovely raw.
We have
raw
always
cooked. I stewed rhubarb with custard, sorry.
No. We've always grown rhubarb at my parents', and it's my mum used to make jam,
Yeah.
puddings,
Yeah.
and it's very good for you.
Yeah.
It's a nice
Yeah.
taste. Seems to be incorporating things like gin now, all these other things that it's been brought into, which is becoming a good fragrance. Hermes are using it, rhubarb as a fragrance, which I never thought I'd see. So
No, I haven't seen a fragrance rhubarb.
yep. So no.
Well, I
very-
have actually, because rhubarb and
rhubarb.
vanilla soap, I've seen that.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
No, we love rhubarb. Go
We
buy
love-
rhubarb. Grow your
rhubarb.
own.
Very good for you, versatile. Yeah.
Thumbs up for rhubarb.
My main memory of rhubarb is that we used to grow rhubarb in our garden when I was younger, and we had lots and lots of rhubarb. So what we used to do with it was well, make it into lots of different things. So we'd have rhubarb crumble, but you know, rhubarb pie, whatever it was. But the main thing that I remember was that my dad used to, in the morning, make it into something that he called rhubarb soup, which was essentially rhubarb kind of boiled down with some sugar, and then we put muesli in it, and then that would just sit in the fridge, and that's what you had for breakfast in the summer in the morning.
So my grandma used to grow rhubarb when we were younger. I remember it being really quite bitter, but she cooks it with a lot of brown sugar, so that's pretty good. But she'd cook it she'd grow it under these I don't know, cloches or domes with a little hole. I think that's supposed to bring them on. But my mum grows it now, and she doesn't put things over the top of it. She says it doesn't really matter that much. And she cooks it with ginger, and it's pretty good. Yeah, I like it. It's tasty.
So I actually grew up in Germany, where we didn't have rhubarb in the garden, but one of my most exciting things about coming back to the UK was that my gran had rhubarb growing in the garden, and every time I came, she'd have a delicious rhubarb pie waiting for me, which was awesome. And she gave me her recipe, and I sort of passed that on, and yeah, I make a nice rhubarb crumble, if I do say so myself. But yeah, it's delicious, so I love rhubarb.
I'm growing rhubarb because I love the plant. I love the taste of it. I love it to eat. It's very nutritious. It's quite sweet. So I like growing it because it's an amazing looking plant. It grows quite big, so you need a big space to grow it in. I heard also in the history of it, it is actually an alpine plant, which means it's kind of in the Alps, kind of in mountain regions. So I think that's why, like it was said earlier, it likes colder climates. You know, so I think it's the reason why it likes colder climates. But yeah, I like growing rhubarb, but I've only just started growing it in the last 2 years. Yeah, I have memories of when I was a small boy. I loved it. I used to get it at school. I used to make it at school. I used to go as a rhubarb, you know, as a rhubarb on the dessert, and I loved rhubarb crumble. Although it's a bit sweet, but I loved it when I was a small boy, and I just used to wait for it on the menu, on the dessert. I wish more places would have it and do it more, because it's a fantastic